Hello everybody, I'm back. It's been a long time. I think it's been about a month since my last video, but I apologize for being gone for so long, but my family have been, we've been kind of going through a rough time right now. I don't want to go into too much detail, but I just ask that you all keep my family in your thoughts and prayers because it's been a rough few weeks for us. But yeah, I'm back now, and I believe last time I said I was going to talk about or explain and summarize my reasoning for doing the top 15 worst wrestling cliches video, which a lot of people seem to like, which I'm happy about that. But so thank you to the Nostalgia Critic for giving me the idea. And by the way, dumbest thing I've ever said on any of these videos was when I was explaining my cliche videos for the first time and how I was going to do this thing, and when I mentioned that the Nostalgia Critic inspired me to do these. And I said something to the effect of, if you don't know who he is, check out his website at here, da-da-da. And after I posted the video, I thought, if they're watching me, there's a 10-to-1 chance they, at the very least, know who the Nostalgia Critic is. So, yeah, that was not one of my brighter moments. Dumbest thing I've ever said, and nobody called me on it, so I decided to out myself. But, yeah. I'm glad everybody liked those videos, and I had fun doing those, actually. It was... it was hard to do, but it was one of the most fun video series that I've ever done. But the reasoning for doing it was not just to bitch for the sake of bitching, but was rather to highlight the major problem with both WWE and TNA, and that is they haven't evolved past the Monday Night Wars period. And what I mean by that, if you watch Monday Night Raw in 1993, and then watch an episode in 1998 immediately after, you will see two completely different shows. And if you watch one episode in each year from 93 to 98, you will see the progression and the evolutionary path into 1998. If you do that now from 1998 to 2011, the content is different, but the structuring of the show, the look of the show is almost identical. And that is a major problem, because not only is the writing nowhere near as good, not only is the content of the show crap, it's the same boring cliche format that was a cutting edge 12 years ago, but right now it's stale and boring. And right now, you look at TNA, you have Vince Russo and Eric Bischoff who are involved in the creative process, and they're doing the show in the same way that they were doing it back in 97, 98. Bischoff said that he invented the way to do live wrestling programming, and Russo's just applying the same formats and ideas that he did while he was in the WWF. And WWE, even though Russo's not involved in the creative process, and yes, even though the content's different, they're PG now, they're still operating under the same format that Vince Russo basically invented for them in 1998. And that needs to change. We need to have an evolution, take wrestling into a new era, a new creative plane, and that's... it's hard to do when you have the same minds involved in the creative process as we did back in the Monday Night Wars period. I mean, okay, who was in charge in the Monday Night Wars period? It was Vince Russo, Vince McMahon, and Eric Bischoff, and those same three guys are still writing the shows. So there's your problem. Why no new fresh ideas are coming in is because it's the same old minds. But what is the new direction to take wrestling in? Well, if I knew for sure, I would take out a loan and start up a wrestling company and do it myself. And if I knew 100% that this was going to work, that's what I would do. But my idea would be, if I were involved in the creative process of either WWE or TNA, would be to... let's bring the sports back into sports entertainment. What I mean by that is not, like I've said before, I'm not one of those guys that counts how many minutes of wrestling action we get on a weekly show, but I do want a sports logic to be put in, and that's why I talked about things like consistency in the rules and how there basically is none. Talked about how wins and losses don't matter. I talked about how there are no time limits, and things like that, how the sports logic has basically been eliminated in a lot of ways. And if you ask a lot of people why they prefer real sports over professional wrestling, most of them will tell you it's because wrestling's fake, but I think a more subconscious reason is because professional wrestling, a lot of the time, makes absolutely no sense in how it's presented when compared to a real sport, which makes plenty of sense. I'm never confused, hardly ever confused by football or basketball or baseball. And when I am confused, it's because the referee made a bad call. But that's, whatever. But yeah, and if you look at the WWE product now, it's more or less the same. It sucks, and it continuously gets worse. We saw that at Capital Punishment. R-Truth and John Cena is your pay-per-view main event, and I should say that pay-per-view took place about 25 minutes from my home. And when I saw that was the main event, any interest I had in going to see the pay-per-view live, which was very minimal in the first place, pretty much died. I was like, there is no way in hell I am paying money to be there live and watch R-Truth and John Cena stink up the place. And from what I heard, they did stink up the place. So, there you go. And apparently Vince thinks he's a comedic genius by having an Obama impersonator on the show. He thinks he's funny. And all those stupid dream segments that they were doing leading into the pay-per-view. Again, Vince, you're not funny. And when I say put a sports logic back into the show, I don't have a problem with comedy and I don't have a problem with using celebrities, but can you do it well? That's all I ask, like you used to do. There were times, Mick Foley back in the day, he was hilarious. When you look at the early WrestleManias, the celebrities really added something. But now it's just, I just cringe whenever they try to do something comical. It's just painful. Most of the time. Sometimes Rock will save him. But, Rock's the best thing in the company right now. He's not even there full time, so there you go. The numbers reflect that. But, yeah. I think the Money in the Bank pay-per-view will be better, even though my very first video, actually, I made fun of the Money in the Bank pay-per-view. But, I don't like gimmick pay-per-views, and John Cena and his never-ending title reign bugs me, and Randy Orton and Christian, even though they have good matches, it's like they're going to squeeze as much out of that as they possibly can because SmackDown just has nothing right now. So you'll probably see Randy Orton and Christian wrestle each other for the next 6 months. But, I think Punk in the main event will make it better, even though I don't think he has a prayer of winning. Whether or not him leaving is a work or not, I don't know. But no matter what, he's not winning that title. It's just not going to happen. And even though I think the Money in the Bank cash-ins are getting cliche and boring, I'll say that at least this is a gimmick where something of value is on the line. Like the Bragging Rights pay-per-view, it's the two brands having a war with each other for no reason over a cup. Nobody gives a shit. But here at least, it has some kind of impact on what you're going to see in the future. So at least it matters somewhat. I'll give it that. So I think the Money in the Bank pay-per-view will be better than the last few entries, but that's not saying much. It'll be more worth your money than the last few entries anyway, because I didn't watch them. But this will lead into Impact Wrestling, and I did want to talk about this. I have not had a chance to talk about TNA and their name change, the brand change into Impact Wrestling. And I'll say this. I think it's a great idea. I love the name. I love that they put Wrestling Matters as their slogan, that they're putting wrestling front and center on what they do, because that's what they are. They're wrestling. And how many times have I mentioned how much it annoys me that WWE goes out of their way to eliminate wrestling from their brand, and nobody I know doesn't call them wrestling. I mean, you ask anybody off the street, you mention WWE, they'll call it wrestling, whether they're a fan or not. So for WWE to do that, I think is just insane. So I like that TNA is doing that. I like that the name TNA is being phased out because I think it's a stupid name anyway, and it was a bad pun that people made fun of. So again, it looks great. It doesn't fall into the alphabet soup because we've seen basically every combination of letters imaginable. So it's nice to see it just called, Impact Wrestling. It's something a little bit different from what we usually see. And I think all the goodwill of the TNA brand had pretty much slowly been destroyed once the Hogan and Bischoff regime came in and they failed on Monday nights. I think TNA was pretty much dead anyway, so I think an identity change was a good idea. So I like that. Has it actually affected how they work the shows and whether or not the product's any good? Well, I'll say this. I think the build-up for Destination X has been pretty good. I like the idea for this pay-per-view. I like the idea for the tournament, having guys win a series of matches to earn a spot on the roster and earn a spot in the X Division. I think that's great. And it provides you with X Division action every week leading into the pay-per-view. For the people that were complaining that we weren't getting enough X Division action. So again, this pay-per-view is all X Division, so if you were complaining about not getting enough X Division action, I mean, this is the show for you. I like that they're trying to do more sports-oriented things. They're trying to put more emphasis on wins and losses, which I'll get to that in a minute. And in regards to the Destination X pay-per-view, I like that we're getting Jerry Lynn and Rob Van Dam, which was kind of, with all the ECW reunion shows, it was the one cool thing that we didn't get. It was kind of the one thing that Hardcore Justice had going for it, but then we lost it, and it was like, well, fuck it, the show's screwed. I like that Joe and AJ and Daniels are being put back into the division. I like that Joe's going to face Kaz. I think that'll be a really cool match that we don't see often. I'm not a fan of Abyss being X Division champion, but at least, again, they're trying to do a storyline with the X Division title, so I guess A for effort, I guess. So yeah, I like a lot of the things that they're doing for the Destination X pay-per-view, and I might order it. We shall see how the next few shows plan out. And as far as wins and losses meaning anything and more of a sports logic being interjected into the product, I think the Bound for Glory series is an excellent idea. I love the idea of creating a system where a contender for the top pay-per-view will be decided by a series of matches where wins and losses working in with a point system will actually determine the top guy. I think that's a great idea. And Anderson, he's got Sting and Angle to keep him busy until Bound for Glory anyway, so it'll be great. I think it's a great idea on TNA's part. Again, brings that more sports logic back into the show. I love the idea of incorporating house show matches. Makes the house show matches actually mean something. Because, how often are you going to see a title change at a house show? When are house show matches going to tie into what you see on storylines? Very rarely, and usually when they do, it's like John Cena and Wade Barrett last year, where a legit injury took place, so they had to incorporate it into the storylines. So again, I like that TNA or Impact Wrestling is making an effort to make the matches mean something, making wins and losses mean something, and giving a long-term build-up heading into Bound for Glory. Will they execute that well? Well, so far so good, I think. I think it's added something to the show, definitely. But I thought the ranking system was a great idea too, but they effed that up. Again, why is fan voting part of a ranking system? It makes no sense. But it's so far so good, and I like what I'm seeing. So kudos to TNA for that. Does that mean the show is perfect? No. I think the Angelina and Winter storyline is one of the stupidest things I've ever seen. I think the TV title doesn't mean shit. Although I will give Eric Young credit when he challenged Scott Baio to a match. That made me laugh. I don't know. It's kind of like Miss Tessmacher. I don't know if anybody's going to get the reference, or anybody too much younger than me are going to get it. But I grew up on Nick at Night, so I get it. What else are they doing? Their obsession with pushing Gunner and Crimson makes no sense to me because I really don't see anything in those guys. I appreciate that you want to make new stars, but Crimson to me is just, even though he's not bad, he's just a generic big guy. I don't see the appeal of giving him a Goldberg push. And the Gunner, again, he's not terrible, but he's kind of TNA's equivalent to Wade Barrett in that, yeah, he's not bad, but he's just so unremarkable and so uninteresting and so... P.S. Powers called him a ham and egger, and that's like the perfect term for him. He's so ordinary. Ordinary, that's the word I'm looking for. He's just so ordinary, and Gunner is... I don't see the appeal in this guy. I can't believe any promoter would look at that guy and look at that guy's work and think, wow, we can make a star out of him. But, oh well. So the show's not perfect, but they are taking baby steps in the right direction. And I do like that. They're taking some of the right steps towards making the show better, establishing a new identity. And the show has been better, and if you ask me which show I'm enjoying more right now, it's Impact Wrestling. I think what they're doing overall is making them a better show than what the WWE is presenting weekly. And that's good for Impact Wrestling. So right now, they have my attention, and if I may borrow a line from Ratatouille, time will tell whether or not they deserve it. So hopefully Impact Wrestling gets better from here. Hopefully WWE, good God, hopefully they get better, because I don't know if I could stand much more of it. Just bring Rock back and let him do whatever the hell he wants to do, because, I mean, my God, he's about all they have going right now. And whenever they do have something good, like Randy Orton and Christian having great matches, they're just going to run that into the ground, because they don't have anything else going for them on SmackDown. But, yeah. So overall, WWE, you suck. Impact Wrestling, you're slightly better, and I like some of the things that you're establishing, so keep it up. And I'll be back next week, and hopefully things get better from here. So, later, everybody.